Hello, this is Conquering History Games here with another Kaiserreich guide. This is actually going to be a different Kaiserreich guide than I'm usually doing. As many of you already know, the school semester has started for me already, so I'm just committing to doing one Kaiserreich guide every week for this channel. However, those are national guides, and it was brought to my attention this event that we're going to go over where there could be a coup in the Commune of France changing the government, and I'm going to talk about how you do that and some of the events that surround it. But I also want you guys to please let me know in the comments after you watch this video how you would like me doing Kaiserreich guides that focus on specific events, things that do not really fit into an introductory guide of a nation. For example, my T.E. Lawrence and Restoration of the UK video, my Avoiding the Spanish Civil War video, things like that. I want you all to let me know how you'd feel about me doing more of those. And I'd also like to emphasize this would in no way interfere with my once-a-week national guides for Kaiserreich countries. This would be a video that I'd maybe do once a week, maybe more, maybe less, in addition to that where I focus on a specific event. Okay, so let's actually get into the meat of it here. We're gonna go into single-player new game Kaiserreich. We're gonna look at an event that can happen when you play as the Commune of France, or more specifically, a series of events. And I hope this will answer a lot of questions for a lot of people. Now, I usually do not go over. I did not go over this in my Commune of France introductory guide because I felt it was something that was a little bit too complicated and that video was already long enough. So we're going to look at something that happens when the Jacobins seize power. Here we are. This is after the initial elections that you're going to deal with during the first month as the Commune of France, and I went with a scenario where I picked only Jacobin party ideological decisions. And you get a choice here between which of the people here you want to be the head of the party. I go with Chachin here, so wait, no, he should be turning over in a little bit. Well, he's the head of government down here. Marcel, he's a silent workhorse and gives you more political power, which is always good to have. But we're gonna let a little bit more time go by here. And there we go. We have Marcel Diet. Sorry, by the way, for all of my French word pronunciations throughout the course of this video. Now, the Jacobins, without getting too into this, they are a totalist faction, and they are, quote-unquote, the villains of Kaiserreich, or at the very least, they could be considered villains to people who play on the left side of the political spectrum, countries like the Union of Britain and the Commune of France and the Baratia Commune and things like that. So you're going to get this event pop up here if you want there to be a Jacobin Reformation where you will replace the syndicalist structures that have been in place in the Commune of France for about 15 years by the time it's 1936, or you can reform it from within. So if you want these series of events to happen, you have to have the old system be swept away, and then the Jacobins are going to rename themselves the Communist Party of France. So I know I sometimes in my guides will use the term syndicalist and communist interchangeably, but they are in fact different. So you're just going to get a series of pop-ups explaining how the France is being changed, and your popularity is going to start to go up. As you can see here, we're already at 67% popularity. Also, just this is not like a min-maxing guide, but I definitely say that no matter what you're doing as France, you should grab these three focuses first, because you get tons of political power and you get an extra research slot as well. Now, you're going to have this dissolution of the CGT, and you're losing more political power. This is just about the international, don't worry about that. And so now we're going to go forward and see what happens if you continue down this path of turning France more communistic. Eventually you'll get this pop-up. It doesn't take very long. It'll happen in the first couple months after the Jacobins take power, where Leon Blum, who is a leading Travailleur, he is starting to form an opposition front. He calls it the Popular Front against the Jacobins, and then you can decide if you want to bring them to trial or not. Now, you are going to have an event that happens later that could happen if you decide that Leninist valors will endure these traitors, but just for the sake of more completeness, I'm going to show you what happens when you bring them to trial. So you're going to get a little bit of a time passing before the pop-up happens. It should happen shortly. Now you have Gamelin marching on Paris, and this sometimes happens the next day after the trial. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer, but you shouldn't be waiting around for too long. And there's going to be two options. You can either have the rebels seize the capital or choose to resist them. Let's take a look at what's going to happen if you decide to resist them. You're going to have the coup fail, and then you're just going to start getting a huge series of negative Malthuses. So you're going to have damage to your civilian factories. Your army is going to be mutinying. So, like if you look here, for the first 90 days of this, there are just awful effects. 90% reduction in division attack, 80% reduction in division defense. Your recovery rate, your attrition, your organization, all of it is being messed up by this mutiny. Then, again, letting some time go by. The coup has failed, though. Then you're going to have like all these battles here, which are even more significantly reducing your political power. It's hurting you in a lot of other different ways. Oh, Italy went with the monarchy under Austria. Okay, I guess they don't like being independent, whatever. But you're going to get all sorts of things like that. Now, meanwhile, Gamelin has fled down here to the French Republic. So here is the pop-up that I was talking about. You see, Gamelin joins the Nationalists. This will not always happen, but again, really horrible effects, minus 240 political power, negative manpower, and then the French Republic, or whatever ideology it is at the time that this happens. Sometimes it'll go monarch, it doesn't really matter, but they're going to then declare war on you over this. So you might be thinking, well, this is a good way, just more negative effects, this is a good way to attack the French Republic very early in the game, and maybe you could take them out so that they can't interfere when the time comes for the German Empire to fight you. Look at that. You see, they land pretty damn quick when it's this early in the game. Although, admittedly, I didn't have any navy deployed here. But the thing you have to keep in mind is it's not enough to just go down to Africa and defeat them, because they are not even considered a major power this early in the game. It's the Dominion of Canada that's an early power. So even if you occupied the French Republic, and I'm talking about to the point where you could, pop off Tunisia and Algeria as puppets, you still have to find a way to get across the ocean to defeat the Dominion of Canada. Of course, you could just devote enough resources to be pushing back any sort of naval invasions. The point is that it can be a pain in the ass. So it's probably not actually the best way to go about that. Now, let's take a look at what happens if you just decide to cave in to the rebels. Alright, so if you decide to have the rebels seize the capital, you have the Popular Front restoring syndicalism. And also, while I'm here, I just want to make a note. I sometimes see in the online community when people are talking about Kaiserreich, you have people asking, how do I turn the Commune of France democratic again? Well, I mean, they have elections. It sounds pretty democratic to me, but now I just know there's going to be a fight in the comment section. But the Commune of France is initially a democracy, and the Jacobins are kind of taking that away, at least is the way that they understand it. So, anyway, once they restore syndicalism, they restore their version of democracy, you are going to get this event which has enormous ramifications. You're going to lose some manpower, and you're going to lose a couple of Jacobin naval and army commanders, but it's not a big deal compared to the bonuses you get here. Of course, you're going to have your different ministers, including Leon Blum, becomes the new head of government, although keep in mind he's a naive optimist, so you probably want to change him out as soon as possible. But you're going to get a 30% swing where the syndicalists become 30% more popular and the totalists lose 30% popularity. So before I click it, let's take a look here. You see you got 70% communists here under the Jacobins and 18% for the syndicalists. And then there's going to be the swing, and now the syndicalists are 74% popular, and also you got 500 political power from that, and Gamelin becomes the new head of the French government. Incidentally, I don't think I mentioned who this guy was, so he actually was the head of the Allied forces, of the French Allied forces anyway, during the Second World War in our original timeline. If you go and look up old footage of like reviews of the troops, you can find pictures of him and stuff. Actually, there's an interesting one out there. I probably will link it in the description, where he goes to Britain and he talks to French Canadian troops, and the news is saying how like it's a perfect example of the Allied unified front, because these are people who are British subjects but they speak French. I just thought that was interesting anyway. So you can kind of compare this to T.E. Lawrence in his military coup. It's very similar, but there you have it, how to get a coup and a restoration of democracy in the Commune of France, in Kaiserreich. And you can do this in the first few months. It's much faster than the T.E. Lawrence route as the Union of Britain. So, if you like this video, please let me know. I would love to hear feedback from you all about me trying to do more of these guides where I focus on specific events besides civil wars, where I could focus on an event tree like this, the Jacobin Civil War, I guess you could say it is, or the coup of the Jacobin regime after ruling for only let's see, it's June, so they would have been in power for like 3 or 4 months, not very long at all. And be sure to subscribe to Conquering History Games and click the bell so you're always notified whenever a new video comes up and you know when I have these new guides out. And you all have a great day.